Hi everyone, my name is Massingham and I'm going to chat to you about community perceptions and experience regarding killing of orangutans in Kalimantan, Indonesia. So I've got a range of different authors involved in this, and as I said, it's been the crux of my PhD. So conserving orangutans. All three species of orangutans are on the brink of extinction. People care about this because they're some of our closest living genetic relatives, and also because their iconic status raises support for immense, globally important biodiversity across Southeast Asia. Because of this, they receive a lot of global attention and funding, almost $70 million annually. But despite that, their populations continue to decline. So this tells us that something about our approach isn't working. Oh, sorry, overreaction. Okay, so in order to, effective conservation requires us to understand the drivers of species loss. We know the two key drivers of orangutan population decline are forest loss and also killing. While forest loss and protection receives a lot of funding and attention, abating and understanding killing of orangutans receives less. It's understudied, and that's because it's a rare, illegal and taboo behaviour, and it's quite difficult to quantify. The last broad-scale attempt to look at orangutan killing was done in 2008 by Mayhard and colleagues. So they looked at almost 700 villages. And I'll just draw you to this key finding here, the female loss rate. Orangutan population viability analysis suggests that an orangutan, a female loss rate of more than 1% annually will lead to the extinction of any population. So these results really put killing on the radar as a key driver, but nothing much is done since. So in comes me, 10 or 15 years later, and with a whole lot of authors and colleagues to relook at these questions. So the questions that we looked at is killing still occurring at a rate that threatens Borneo and orangutan populations? Are conservation projects having an impact? And what are the drivers of killing? So to do this, we hired a local social development organisation that had pre-existing relationships with a lot of these villages. They went in and did 420 interviews across 80 villages. We did a subset of Mayhard and colleagues' villages that were done 10 or 15 years ago. And to assess the impact of projects, we looked at 3 village types: villages with orangutan and forest conservation projects in them. That's orangutan conservation projects. Villages with forest conservation projects only, and villages with no projects in them. And we used counterfactual evaluation via matching to reliably compare those different village types. Those are our villages where we visited against the orangutan range. So the key findings are that killing is still happening. It's likely still happening at a rate that could threaten the Borneo and orangutan populations. Propensity to kill or perform illegal behaviours was high, and we were unable to detect an effect of conservation projects on killing. So I'll break this down a little bit. So we asked community members with a knowledge of forests and orangutans about killing, and what we found was in more than 50% of villages, one or more respondent reported killing of an orangutan at any time, and we did not detect that projects were having a significant impact on that finding. And then in terms of more recent incidents of killing, we asked people about killing in their village in the last 10 years, and we found 30% of villages had one or more respondent report that an orangutan had been killed in their village in the last 10 years, and we didn't find that projects were having a significant impact on that finding either. We then looked at what we call propensity to kill outcomes. So we used proven sensitive question techniques in the form of scenarios to ask people, put yourself in this character's shoes. What do you think this character would do in a range of different scenarios? Would they leave the orangutan in the forest? Would they kill it, eat it, sell it, keep it, or do something else? And these scenarios were informed by what prior research tells us might be driving killing. So findings from these scenarios were that more than 40% of respondents said that the character would do something illegal that would likely lead to the death of an orangutan in one or more scenarios. And only 40% of respondents said that the character would leave the orangutan in all scenarios. So these were pretty surprising and interesting findings in terms of attitudes around killing. We then looked at what might be driving killing, and of all of the different things that we looked at, which are sort of listed there, the one that came up as significant was actually that people who perceived that orangutans are declining had a greater propensity for illegal behaviour. So back to the key messages. Killing is still likely happening at a rate that might threaten Bornean orangutan populations. Propensity to perform illegal behaviours was common. We did not detect an effect of conservation projects on killing, and further study on the impacts of projects could complement ours. And knowledge about the dire state of orangutans might not be enough to support the necessary attitudinal shift to reduce killing. So what's next? Because of its immediate impacts on populations, killing can no longer be dismissed as a rare and negligible behaviour. Our findings suggest that in order to prevent their extinction, we need to address the two key drivers of orangutan population decline together, that's forest loss and killing, and with strategic resources within the social-ecological context that they exist. This requires more study into the drivers of killing and working with communities to determine what might be appropriate management options, what are barriers to positive action, and how do we overcome those barriers. So this paper is currently under review and you can find me there, and I'd love to chat. Thanks so much for listening.